Hey, Amanda.
Hi, Kim. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you. I think we're going to actually call this a crossover post because you and I have known each other for years, but we've never actually worked together. But there's something that happened literally. It's hot off the press,
Mhm.
breaking news ripped from the headlines. Something that's happened here in Australia, and I think you were the one who suggested that we do something on this story.
Yeah, this story has been blowing up in the last week here in Australia. Australia's biggest banking brand, in fact, I think it's the Southern Hemisphere's biggest bank, have had to backflip on a decision. And as soon as I read the article, I thought this is Kim Seeling Smith's world and my world colliding, and I know we both have a lot to say on this, so I thought it would be a good collaboration.
Yeah, I think that that's a great idea. We should probably introduce each other to each other's audiences. Although you probably need no introduction, my friends, my community, this is the wonderful Amanda Stevens. She is one of Australia's top keynote speakers. She is also a top consumer futurist and the author of a brand new, hot off the press book, Radical Customer Obsession, which is just a fantastic book. It's an easy read. It's a resource guide. I would highly encourage you guys to go get it. So that's Amanda.
Yeah, and this is my friend Kim Seeling Smith, who is also an incredible speaker. We're each other's hype girls, basically. And Kim works with organizations to future-proof their business. And I guess you're a business futurist. So this is the interview of the futurists and their worlds colliding each other.
A futurist vibe going on.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get to the story. So Commonwealth Bank, and for those international people, Commonwealth Bank, as Amanda said, is one of the largest banks, if not the largest bank, I think you said, in
Mhm.
Australia. I didn't actually know that, even though I am a customer. And
You bring an interesting additional lens to this conversation today, Kim, which I love.
yeah, I've been a customer and I've been a rabid evangelist for CBA. They have always done right by me. They're known for their customer service, and I was pretty shocked when I read a few weeks ago that they had made 45 people redundant and replaced them with a chatbot.
Mm.
I'd love no, they've since reversed that, which we'll talk a little bit about, but I'd love your take on what they did from a customer experience perspective.
Yeah, and I love that you bring kind of the AI perspective to this as well, because this was a really fascinating decision, and I think it has since served as a warning for every business in every single sector around AI. So this decision was made without consultation. Well, I don't know how much internal conversation went on. Obviously, I'm not privy to that, but it certainly there was no consultation with customers, and in fact a real lack of transparency that this had even happened. So 45 people in customer service were basically displaced. They had, I think, the option to be redeployed within the organization or take a redundancy package, but were basically removed from customer facing roles and replaced with an AI bot.
Mm.
The customer backlash was swift and it was heavy. And as a result, they have since embarrassingly had to reverse the decision and re employ those people if they so choose. I don't know if I'd been replaced by a bot and then my employer came back and asked me to come back. I don't know how I would feel about that, but that's probably an individual thing. But yeah, really interesting lesson around, I think, the danger of lack of transparency, lack of consultation. And interestingly, the research shows, and you know more about this, Kim, than me, but the research shows that younger generations, when they're asked and when they're researched, a lot of the time they say they'd actually prefer to deal with a bot. They don't have an issue with it. They find it more efficient. But in this case, again, because of probably lack of consultation, lack of foresight, and lack of strategy, what transpired from anecdotal evidence and certainly internal conversations at CBA is that the AI bots were less efficient, were less able to resolve customers' concerns and issues. So yeah, a warning lesson on so many levels.
So many levels. I did some deeper research after the headline on Friday saying that they reversed their decision. And it turns out that their promise to customers, which again, I am a customer, I never heard anything about this.
Mm,
And I was surprised when I read the story because I thought that's odd from a couple of different perspectives. Number one, they're the ones, if I recall correctly, they're the ones who used to tout the fact that all of their customer service people were onshore, as opposed to some of their competitors that would outsource their customer service. So it's a direct violation of their employer brand,
mm,
their consumer brand rather, and their culture, their whole ethos, and what was part of why I was such a raving fan and rabid evangelist about the bank, because there
mm,
was such a lack of transparency. But apparently the promise was that calls would go down, and that's why they didn't need as many people. But the
mm.
reality was calls went up because the bots were just not able to handle it.
Absolutely. And I think this, when I talk about lack of strategy, and again, you can talk to this better than me around the planning and strategizing of AI is just, it's far more important than the technology itself. And I think that the mistakes that you and I have talked about beyond CBA of organizations rushing to implement AI in almost a knee-jerk reaction because they're scared of being left behind, but not really taking the time to think through the strategy, the implications, and also the end state. They just kind of maybe focused on the savings, which is a very one-dimensional way to look at it. So from a customer point of view, and I've talked about this story on stage already in the last couple of days, and someone said to me yesterday, "What would you have done differently if you were consulting to CBA?" And I said, "Well, quite simply, certainly, firstly, you'd spent a lot more time on the strategy, a lot more consultation internally, and also with customers." And then run a pilot to demonstrate, clearly have some evidence that it's in the customer's best interest. So that's the lens that AI always needs to be held up to the light. What is best for firstly, our internal customers, and what is best for our people? And for a brand like CBA, as you've said, that's just so important because it's been such a part of their, customer facing brand promise. Consultation with customers, run a pilot program, demonstrate not just the time savings and cost savings, but the benefits to the customer.
Yeah.
Then
And
what I would have suggested they do is, not just go implement it completely, but actually, when a customer calls, actually say to the customer, we have just piloted an AI customer service program. Our research shows that call time savings are around about, I don't know, 4 minutes per customer. If you'd like to try it, press one. If you'd like to go through to our traditional customer service team, press two. As soon as you give the customer the control and the power and a say in what is happening and let them choose their own adventure, that's where you are doing, you can start to implement AI, but in a way that's not going to have a backlash.
yeah, absolutely. And you could actually see the mirror image of that from the employee side, from the AI implementation, taking the people on the journey. I just wrote a white paper, as you know, about how Australia is finally starting to wake up to AI. PwC's research, their CEO, global CEO survey from February of this year, really called out Australia as an outlier, as a country that is not acting quick enough in terms of AI. And when that happened, I remember thinking to myself, that's a little bit dangerous because when Australians wake up and say, "Oh my gosh, we've got to jump on this bandwagon," a lot of companies will take these knee-jerk reactions and will do so without a strategy. And this is exactly what we've seen happen with CBA. And there are some other brands doing this, and I expect it to be the canary in the coal mine. So, like you said, consultation is everything.
Mm.
Now that they've done this, they have really not only broken the trust of the customer, but they've broken the trust of the employee as well.
Yeah.
So if you're an employee working for CBA, how do you know that your job isn't going to be made redundant, even though they had to pull it back? They know that that's the intention of the organization. So I'm seeing this. I'm just fearful that so many companies are going to be pressured by their boards of directors or be pressured by their shareholders to implement some cost savings in these times of economic uncertainty,
Yeah.
and or to show some return on investment for AI, because that is the buzzword. Now, this is the most complicated change management program that you will ever implement,
Mm.
because not only do you have all of the challenges of a traditional change management program, you have this deep-seated fear, which has now been borne out by 45 current or former employees of CBA, that
Mm.
your job is going to go away. And that directly impacts people's identity and directly impacts people's senses of purpose. And people tend to become mischievous when that happens. And companies are going to just buy more problems than it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, you've just hit the nail on the head, Kim, around the peripheral ripple effect that this potentially has had at CBA. And who knows? I mean, I would love to look at some employee engagement scores prior to this and now, because it's not just the 45 people that they misplaced to implement this AI program, it's the impact that it has on the broader organization. Well, if they did it with that team, who's to know they're not looking, that we're next? And because they did it with such lack of consultation and such lack of engagement, and I write about in my new book that essentially customer experiences are really just employee experiences played out one by one.
Yeah,
So
I like that.
if this is impacting the culture at CBA, this is not just, as I said, it's not just the customers that are calling in to those 45 customer facing people. It's, that this is going to be impacting the experience, the perception. And, let's be honest, we're facing a brand trust crisis in Australia. If we look at the most trusted brands in the country today versus 5 years ago, three of those brands that were in the top 10 5 years ago are now in the bottom 10.
Mm,
And the common through line on that is lack of transparency of
mhm,
how certain things were handled, like the Optus data breach, for example,
mhm.
Woolworths and Coles not being transparent, and this, the whole, Royal Commission that went on around that investigation around price fixing and collusion. Consumers are awake to this, and CBA. I don't know if the management team at CBA have a very short memory, but in 2018 they were up against a Royal Commission, and there were claims, very serious claims made around, corporate fraud, deception. Consumers, we are privy to all of this information more and more,
Yeah, yeah.
and brand trust is really under threat. So I think that we brands just can't afford to be looking at this one-dimensional approach to AI around cost savings without considering the 360 perspective of brand trust,
Yeah.
employee experiences, and customer experiences.
And trust in general. I mean, you look at the Edelman Trust Report, and you've seen over the last 10 years how trust is the circle of trust is getting narrower and narrower and narrower. When I
Mm.
first started reading the Edelman Trust Barometer, it was 2018.
Mm.
And at that point in time, individuals had stopped trusting the government, had stopped trusting large organizations or large institutions, but still, for the most part, trusted the organizations they were working for.
Mm.
Now that has dissipated, and people only really trust people that they know. So, in a work context, that's their immediate supervisor or the people around them, and in a personal context, that's friends. So, trust in general has been eroding for at least a decade, if not longer. And it extrapolates to both the consumer and the employee. They're mirror images of each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, look, lots to unpack with this story. And I love how, we've been friends and colleagues for a very long time. And I love how this business and consumer side of things is colliding, or AI and the customer experience is colliding. And I'm sure there's lots more conversations for us to have on this. But yeah, CBA is serving up some really interesting lessons for businesses of all sizes. You know, this isn't just relegated to big business. I think small business can learn a lot from this as well.
Great cautionary tale. So hopefully the senior leaders out there listening to us and watching us will take this to heart and think, strategically about the AI implementation, transparency and communication. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, it seems pretty, sounds simple, but not simplistic. And for anyone out there listening to this, if you want some excellent AI and CX strategists on your team, you know where to find us.
You know where to find us. Excellent. Well, Amanda, this has been great fun, and I have a feeling that it's going to be one of many more conversations in the future.
I concur. I concur. And I look forward to that because I think this is obviously, this is evolving really rapidly, as is consumer behavior and AI are two things that are just continually evolving and changing. So, yeah, lots of
And
opportunity.
interacting on each other too. I mean, these are really a synergistic and sometimes diametrically opposed relationships. So, yeah.
Absolutely. More important than ever to get it right.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Amanda. I really appreciate your suggesting that we do this and your time today.
Thanks, Kim. Great chat.